Evening all. Bit late, innit? I apologise for the lighting as well. It's trying to. It's just became clear to me that trying to stream at what is it, 1:30 in the afternoon in California is not very easy because of the lighting. If I opened the blinds, it was ridiculously bright, and if I closed them entirely, the lighting's shit because I haven't got very big lights above and around me. So I've had to basically do a sort of half and half, and this is the best you get. But you don't just tune in to watch me, do you? You tune to get the finger on the pulse of the latest news, the latest happenings in the world. So yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? Glad you all made it. Obviously, I dropped it on you quick because I didn't even know I was going to do one today. I just was driving home and thought, oh yeah, I've got nothing to do this afternoon. I'll do a quick stream. So hello, Matt Oliver, Professor Andy, Glenn, Matt C4, Davey Harris, Paul Tidywells, Nigel Cumberland, Two Tone, hello, Stevie C, Paul Tidywells, Dance Biker, Vase of Flowers, Caleb Pierce, Terry Wuckfit, Davey Parker. Have you got your mail yet, Dave? I hope it's arrived. Jim Graham, Kev Wright, Independent News Media, JVPA, Craig Hewitt, Caleb Pierce, Chris Collin, Mark McGreal, hello. Anyone I missed? Tomo. How then? All right. Keep the noise down. We're trying to sleep. Oh, 8-hour time difference. Yeah, it's a bit of a big one. So, I'll tell you what I can talk about briefly, which isn't news related. Do you remember me talking last week about how the thing that really irritates me about the world we're living in now is the sort of descent into madness politically, whereby 90% of the population appear to be relatively normal and sort of lean roughly in one direction or another. And then you've got sort of like 10%. Because I'm not even going to give far-right ideologues 1% of the population, because I don't think they're that high. If you were to, despite the proclamations of the insane lefties over here in the United States, if you were to ask people, because I mean the obvious one about white supremacists is they're obviously happy to tell you what they believe, right? And if you were to go out there and try and find people that openly admit to being in the Ku Klux Klan or espousing Klan ideology, you'd probably find about 50,000 people in the whole country, where your population's, 335 million or thereabouts. It's such a rare thing, which blows my mind about where we're at politically, because to meet someone who is a far-right extremist or a Ku Klux Klansman or a bona fide white nationalist, they are as rare as rocking horse shit. Like, you just don't meet these people because it's 2021 and they've spent the last 80 years teaching people the fundamentals of biology. And I find it mad how, even to this day, post 9/11, 7/7, Charlie Hebdo, Madrid train bombing, Beslan school massacre, unending Nice truck attacks, Notre Dame, and all of the shit that's gone on, and all you get from the mainstream media is, but what about the white extremists, the far right extremists? Like, these people are so innumerable. Oh no, that means lots of them. So minuscule in number that they barely register on the radar of normal right-thinking people who do that most basic of things and do a sort of basic risk assessment in the general life. You know, like, the human brain puts that together quite quickly because we were prey for a very long time. And we do it nice and quickly. Quite efficiently, our brains put that together. We sort of go, what's the biggest risk to me in this day and age? And I find it fascinating how that basic risk assessment is something that we do almost on a whim. And yet the powers that be will just constantly talk about the dangers of right-wing extremism. Like, it's quite fascinating. What would the death toll be, for example, in the UK? Seriously, what would the death toll be in the UK from far-right, white, racist extremism? Like, does anybody know? I can't even think of a reasonable figure that I would settle on. Like, what would it be? 10? I seem to remember there was a bloke bombed a gay bar probably fucking 2 decades ago at this point. But I'm pretty sure he was a sort of white bloke as opposed to a deranged practitioner of a deranged regular customer at Alan's legendary snack bar. I would say it's probably been, 1, 2. 1. See, you know what? If Terry Wookfit and Paul Tidywells are referring to the obvious, right, which is the Labour MP, Joe Cox, I don't think the guy who killed Joe Cox was a white nationalist or a right-wing extremist. As far as I've been led to believe, the guy who killed Joe Cox was just a fucking nutter, right? Another sort of raving lunatic. So I really don't understand it. Like I said, let's meet them on. Let's err on the side of caution there and put the number at 2 plus the Soho bombing. You're going to struggle to get into double figures, aren't you? For a far right white nationalist casualties in the UK, you are going to struggle to get into double figures. And yet, after horrifying public acts of grotesque violence, Michael Ryan was another one, though. Michael Ryan was a nutter, but was he a white nationalist or a white extremist? Why would he be when Michael Ryan killed loads of white people? That was near the Isle of Wight, wasn't it? I know that because I was on holiday in the Isle of Wight when I was a bairn, when that happened, just up the road. So I think I must have been about 8. So would that have been, 1987, 1988? I'm pretty certain Michael Ryan was definitely not a white right-wing extremist, though, because I'm guessing in 1988, south of England, every single person he killed was probably white, right? Which I'm assuming if you're a white racist extremist, the last people you're going to want to kill is a load of white people. Although no, because Anders Breivik was playing 4D chess, wasn't he? And he went after the sort of communists. So he wasn't going for colour. So yeah, maybe. All right then, let's just give them Michael Ryan as well. So let's say double figures. The casualty statistics from the white nationalists in the UK over the last 30 years will be double figures at worst, right? Double figures. Yeah, and the nutter taxi driver and the dumb yeah, okay, like I said, double figures, right? But again, I think that's a bit of a stretch. The nutter taxi driver as well, like, he was just pissed off with his missus, wasn't he? And fucking went mental. So you'll be in double figures, is the point I'm getting at. So why are we obsessing over the far right when we've got 7-7, Lee Rigby, Borough Market, London Bridge? You can just reel them off. Manchester bombing, little kids at a pop concert. I mean, forget about Lee Rigby 7-7, they're all bad enough, but little kids at a pop concert. Lee Rigby 7-7, Borough Market, grooming gangs, like, it's mad. Everyone's just like, anything happens and they go, fucking hell, far right. It's like, really? Is that what it seems illogical. Totally illogical. Romper Stomper. I watched that when I was a teenager. I thought it was extremely funny, that film. Especially when there's a bloke with his fucking nunchucks on a bread crate. It's a Chad Buck good film, that. But yeah, it's lunacy. Here's something off my core I was arguing about, what I told you guys before. Going through the numbers, I really couldn't believe that, and that's off the official census, that there was only 7,000 black people in in England, in Scotland in 2001. So the numbers in the sort of 50s and the 60s will have been like beyond minuscule. And then you get people here who want to argue the toss, and this chick just wouldn't leave it alone. She was insisting that there was plenty in Scotland in 1943. I was like, they just don't care about reality, do they? They're absolutely mental. And then this chick was just proper having a go at me, just over and over. I was like, are you a bit mental? I pointed out the obvious thing here that, the right-wing ideologues lie about the contributions of immigrant communities in the negative, i.e. nothing they ever do is positive. And the left-wing ideologues lie about the contribution in the positive and say, Britain looked like a New York subway train now in 1940, and it didn't. And I just think it's mad how you've got that 90% of the country that are sort of normal and are just want to know what's true or not. And you've got about 10% who are woke and 0.001% who are right-wing extremists. But it's mad how the woke people just don't care about facts. Like, you tell them a fact and you say, look, there's the census data. There's what actually happened. There's the numbers. And they go, nah, it's bollocks. And as I said to her, if you want to argue further, take it up with fucking maths. And she's mental. Then she said, oh, no, it's not that you're right or wrong. It's just opinions. We've all got one. And I was like, no, we're not dealing with opinions. We're dealing with you telling people that Scotland in 1943 looked like a fucking... Walking around Edinburgh was like walking through the Cosby Show set. Right? And it wasn't. It wasn't. And she's like, oh, yeah, dude. Well, maybe she was counting Indians and Pakistanis as black people. So there, checkmate. And I was like, these people came over by the same methods of ingress and egress, you fucking idiot. Like, what do you think? Do you think, so you read the census data and you go, okay, there was hardly any black people in Scotland in 1950. Therefore, there must have been a few million Indians. Like, just get a grip. Just accept the cold, harsh reality. And then I was like, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. Just as I said, I'll do us both a favour and draw a line under this conversation. I'll do something more productive and you can stop digging. And then she finished with, no one ever said yes to you, did she? Like, see, the tolerant left, all they do is insult you. You give them a fact. And if they don't like the fact, they call you a Nazi. Like, that's how mad the world we're living in has got. You debate, like, you literally, this is again why I've told you, like, I've got, basically I try to consider myself a centrist person. And yet, I'm always arguing with the woke because they're all deranged. Like, they're the only people where you disagree with them on anything and they call you a Nazi. Have you noticed that? It's like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about with an ideologue. If they say, like, the world's going to end because of climate change, and you say, nah, it's probably not, though, they'll go, oh, yeah, Nazi. What's that got to do with anything? You know what I mean? They'll go, oh, we shouldn't have borders. And you go, yeah, but we should, though, shouldn't we? And they go, fascist. It's like, everyone thinks we should have borders. Obama was quite happy to have borders, and I didn't see anyone calling him a fucking neo-Nazi. Anything. We should have a $25 an hour minimum wage. Should we, though? Is that sensible? Fucking hell. Fascist, sexist, homophobe, racist. It's like, what's that got to do with anything? Absolute lunacy. So these people are fucked in the head. Anyway, this is my opening rant. Let's do some news, shall we? I just got home from the mother-in-law's. I'll be catching up with the news in half an hour. Oh yeah, that's me. Regarding the chat there, facts don't beat their lived experience, right, Mr. Miff Matlow? I talked about this the other week because when we went to see some friends of my wife in San Diego, the very, very left-wing people, like, it's hard to not conclude that they've sort of drank the Kool-Aid and turned into an ideologue. And that reminds me of a conversation we had with them because they were talking about lived experience. And I said to them, it's so easy to refute the lived experience argument, isn't it? Because there's so many different ways that you can be emotionally affected. And you can't possibly have anyone who has lived experience in every single facet of the myriad ways that we experience life as people. Candy Eye, how you doing? All right, evening. So here's a really good example I was discussing with my mother-in-law and all the family yesterday when they were talking about lived experience. Yeah, I do look rough, don't I, Davey? Yeah, I was bruising for 2 days. Basically, the idea would be that if you've had, let's say, you've been abused because you're black, right? Like, they'll say, you can't understand what it's like because you don't have lived experience of being black. So then you would say, okay then, but Barack Obama does, right? So he understands what it's like to be called the N-word. And even though every one of us has been made to feel small and every one of us has been made to feel cheap and we've all been upset, anyone who's ever been bullied on the playground, you've been punched in the face, you've had your lunch money stolen, your dinner money, you're upset, you've been beaten up, you feel wretched, you feel terrible. Why is that different from being racially abused? And they say, it just is. It just is. It doesn't matter if you felt terrible. It's not the same as being racially abused, getting beaten up by a gang, pissed on, and then hung off the fucking goalpost by your underpants. That's not the same as simply being insulted. So you're talking nonsense. And the simple rebuttal that I was trying to come up with when I'm talking to these people is, if you think that's true, then Barack Obama is a great example to pick, because they love Barack Obama. They don't like to see anything bad said about him. So what you have to say, if someone makes that stupid, illogical claim, as only a brainwashed ideologue would make, but if someone makes that stupid, illogical claim, you can simply say to them, okay then, does Barack Obama know what it's like to be called fatty? Just pick that. Because we can just pick, you can just, like I said, pluck insults from the air. Because nobody has had such a conclusive, all-included life experience that they can understand every single insult, right? So I would then say, does Barack Obama know what it's like to be poverty-stricken when he was like middle class? Does he know what it's like to live in a council estate and not know where your next meal's coming from? No. So he can't empathise with anyone who does, yeah? So he's gone. You can't do that. Has he ever been called fat? He's not fat. Has he ever been called short? He's not short. Has he ever been called short, fat, ugly little dwarf? No, okay, so he can't empathise with short, fat, ugly little dwarfs, can he? He can't. So he's a terrible president. He can't empathise with anyone who's short, fat, ugly, has got Down syndrome. He's not disabled, so he can't represent the disabled. He can't empathise with the disabled because he's not fucking disabled, right? So, I mean, there you go. That is how stupid, how fucking fatuous and illogical and infantile their ridiculous argument is. And I feel like that was a good rebuttal. Nobody can do it. Margaret Thatcher, her lived experience, she didn't know what it's like to be called a fucking male insult. Therefore, fuck her. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. There's dozens of things that Barack Obama can't have any lived experience in. He doesn't know what it's like to be a woman. He doesn't know what it's like to be gay. He doesn't know what it's like to be LGBT+. He doesn't know what it's like to be a lesbian. He doesn't know what it's like to be a fat, purple-haired fucking grebo that only gets showered twice a bastard year, like they fucking all do. He doesn't know what it's like to be a punk rocker with a load of metal shit in your fucking face. There's loads of shit that he doesn't know about and he doesn't have lived experience in. Does anybody who's not a fucking left-wing ideologue with the IQ of a pull-along duck think that therefore he can't be empathetic and sensitive and reasonable and completely embrace the idea of representing a community or a group or short people or fat people or ugly people in a compassionate and reasonable and sensible manner? It's so fucking stupid. Nobody can be everything. Nobody can be everything. If they get a trans, black, Muslim, disabled, lesbian in a wheelchair with Tourette's, I'll go, yeah. Well, she hasn't got a hair lip. It's so fucking obvious. How can they How can they represent the hair lip community? She doesn't know what it's like to be fucking Boy George. What about Boy George? What about him? It's fucking retarded. It's beyond ridiculous. And I can't believe these people say these things with a fucking straight face and expect you to be like, oh yeah, nice one. Yeah, that was a fruitful, engaging, sensible conversation we just had. The idea we all got before mass immigration is rubbish, but we weren't utter snowflakes. We gave it back. Now it's a hate crime. Yeah, it is. It is. Being a big lad or lady and just sucking it up and dealing with your problems is fucking pathetic. Apparently, you're not meant to do that. You're meant to be a victim. Some of these tweets I've looked at over the last few days, it's cringe. Where was that idiot politician? Where is she? I mean, it just makes me sick. Oh yeah, look, there's a good one, look. 50 generations in Britain moved to the USA in 2012, still more Native American than this silly mayor. Have you seen how lacking in Native American Elizabeth Warren is? Fuck me. You could, if you just randomly stopped a bloke on the streets of Beijing, a full-on Chinese bloke peddling a fucking rickshaw, right? He'd be more Native American than her. That blonde-haired, blue-eyed Scandi. And she's like, oh yeah, he big powwow boss. Like, you're a fucking cheeky bastard. Like, the ones who talk the loudest about how progressive they are the ones that have personally stolen money and resources that was intended for the communities they claim to represent. Elizabeth Warren personally benefited for scholarships and funding and charity endeavours that were set up explicitly for Native American people because they got fucked over back in the day. Now, we can disagree about whether or not we should be explicitly giving them loads of money now, because we probably shouldn't. You're not going to move on if you just keep blaming modern white kids who might not be well off themselves for the ills of the great-great-grandparents. But it's sickening when the likes of this jizz-raddled, fucking wrinkly-up old hag steal money explicitly intended for poor people of Native American descent and then go on the TV and claim that they're the big heroes of the Native American community. How much money did Trump steal off them? Did he claim a Native American fucking scholarship? Because I don't think so. Did he take advantage of charity foundations and taxpayers' money for minorities? Or did she? Which one of them has personally fucked and dipped into the cookie jar illicitly for money that was intended for Native Americans? Only one of them that I'm aware of, and it's that rancid, raddled slag. So, neck of 1,000 giraffes. Was her. Wind your fucking neck in. I've done more for the Native American community than Elizabeth Warren, because I've simply had almost nothing to do with them. I think I gave a tramp a $5 once, and he was Native American. But she's actively stolen from them. So I've got this beat, and I'm from fucking England. I've done more for the Native American community than you have, Lizzie. So, fucking do one. You want my number? It's 0121. Fucking do one. Yeah, cheers. Cheers. So you can fuck off. What else was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this one. I have to show you this. Look. Finally, Middlesbrough's in the new... Oh, for fuck's sake. Look, Titania McGrath tweeted this. Teesside woman accused of exposing penis using a sex toy and masturbating in public. Chloe Thompson, another Borough lass, having a good time. Right, I'm gonna have to find this story, aren't I? Teesside Live penis. That'll come up straight away. There we go. So, let's do this one, shall we? Right. Teesside woman accused of exposing her penis, using a sex toy, masturbating in public. Her exposing the sheeness. Teesside woman exposes her gigantic throbbing sheeness for all the lads to see. There. There's a woman accused of indecent exposure, masturbating in public and using a sex toy in a public place will stand trial early next year. Chloe Thompson of Borough Road, Middlesbrough, appeared at Teesside Magistrates Court on Wednesday after denying the offences. I love that as well. How do you deny it? I'm assuming everyone saw the cock, right? The sheeness was being fucking helicoptered for all the world to see. Like, well, yeah, I don't even know you and I've seen your cock. What do you mean you're denying it? Ow. It says, she is charged with committing a public nuisance by indecently exposing her penis. You can't even fucking read it without laughing. Like, there's no... Have you noticed how the lefty loonies have took over to the point where there's no argument or debate about any of the language used? Like, the journalists surely should be like, Chloe Thompson, who was born male and identifies as female and still is in possession of a functioning set of testicles, claims to be female. And then you'd put like she in quotations or something. But they just write the entire story using their shit lingo because the loony left have won. And no one bats an eyelid. It's just all the way through. She is charged with committing a public nuisance by indecently exposing her penis to other members of the public whilst masturbating from a property window. The incident took place on Cromer Street, Middlesbrough. On the same date, the 41-year-old also alleged to have masturbated on the street in view of others. A further complaint was also made to police after she was reportedly using a sex toy on Wellesley Road on the same day. Thompson was due to stand trial on Wednesday. She spoke only to confirm her name and enter her not guilty pleas and helicopter her big, flaccid, fucking purple helmet warrior for the judge and the jury to see. So yeah, mad innit? She spoke. Look, it's number one. It's gone viral. Everyone loves that. Everyone loves that. Wait a minute though. If there's only a minuscule tiny number of people that are transphobes and everybody else is totally down with all of the woke bollocks, why is it the number one trending story fucking nationwide? Because 95% of people that read that get to the end of it and go, well, that was a load of absolute bollocks, darling, wasn't it? you read that across the table to your missus and you go, well, that was the biggest pile of absolute shite I've ever seen in my fucking life. Anyway, pass the toast. I mean, it's so obvious. So, yeah, mad, innit? The world's gone fucking mental. Gee, where am I? You're in a brave new world, Craig. You're in the brave new world. Yeah, and that's a good point, isn't it? Is she going to a woman's jail? And therein lies the question. And therein lies the problem. How do we get around this? If we accept their version of events, she, who helicopters her fucking man meat, she helicopters her man meat in public, she will get locked in a cell with a fucking bird. And maybe it wouldn't be so bad if everyone in prison was like a horrible, slimy piece of shit. It was like rough and tumble, right? Because we know what I'm on about. If you're some mega rough, stabby hooker who's had a rough life and you've stabbed a load of blokes and you've mugged a load of people, yeah, maybe you could handle being locked in a cell with her, right? And be aware of minding the pronouns because it's YouTube. Maybe a stabby, violent hooker could deal with being in a cell with her, but like loads of people in prison, they're in a women's prison. I'd go as far as to say 80% of them are there probably because they met violent men or they had something to do with dodgy men. there's going to be girls in that prison who have done like process crimes. Like you'll get women in women's prisons who are like timid, shy, bookish, short, slender, but they're in jail for like tax fraud, right? Fudging the numbers, dodgy accountancy. And then she walks in. All right, love. And I'm having the fucking bottom bunk, you cunt. Imagine the poor bastards. Like, yeah, I haven't got that much sympathy for criminals because I'm a conservative, but can you imagine? You're a bookish, shy woman in jail for a process crime because you've been tax evasion. And then that fucker walks in. I'm having the bottom bunk, you cunt. Get your tits out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Show us what you piss with, you cunt. I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get fucking sexually assaulted, beaten up, raped, and basically abused on the public tit. The taxpayers are paying for you to get abused while you're in prison by a sexual deviant bloke with a massive lob on. He's going to walk in her cell with a lob on and go, get your fucking baps out. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to be walking with a severe fucking limp in the foreseeable future. Is it controversial for the angry Bootneck to say that maybe we shouldn't be allowing this type of fucking behaviour if we're supposed to be a civilised country where we protect the rights of women? Is it controversial to say that? I don't think so. Right. I'll call it there. I just thought I'd do a quick video because I've been gone for 4 fucking days or whatever it was. Thanks for tuning in. I'll try and get some videos done over the next few days. Once I've sobered up and drank about 8 litres of water and sorted my life out. But yeah, all right. Please like it and share it and all that nonsense. And I will see you all very soon. Let me know what you think in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. And yeah, I don't see how I don't see how anything I say on this channel is unreasonable. I don't see how arguing about facts in a sensible manner with an occasional bit of humorous anecdotes and insults means that you're far right or right wing or even impolite. Not really. It's just a bit of bants. Never last the hour. I'm not meant to last the hour. That's what she said. Oops. Yeah. Never did I claim to ever be able to last an hour via YouTube or in the real world. That mug's hanging. Yeah, well, I drink 4 cups of tea a day out of it. Right, I'm off. Thanks everyone in the chat. Always a good crack. I'll